In 1917, Britain promised the same country to two different peoples, not in a treaty, but in a single letter, 67 words long. And Britain didn't even own that country yet. The man who signed it was the Foreign Secretary, Arthur Balfour, whose empire ruled a quarter of the planet and drew borders the world still fights over. Britain was losing a world war and needed allies. Jews fleeing Europe's pogroms had long dreamed of a safe homeland, and their cause reached the cabinet through Chaim Weizmann, a chemist whose war work had won London's ear. But Britain had already promised that same ground elsewhere, a kingdom for the Arabs if they rose against the Ottomans, and a secret carve-up with France. One small land promised to three peoples, and the letter contradicted even itself. A national home for the Jews, yet no harm to those already there. In a Palestine 9/10 Arab, home to 700,000 people. Within weeks, British troops took Jerusalem and Britain would rule Palestine for 28 years. Jewish immigration climbed, and when Hitler rose, a homeland became survival, even as the Arabs, watching their country change, revolted. So in 1939, just as Europe's Jews needed escape, Britain slammed the door. By the end, both sides were fighting the British, who, broke and exhausted, handed the problem to the United Nations and walked away. The UN voted to split the land. The Jews accepted, but the Arabs, 2/3 of the people, yet offered less than half the territory, refused. At midnight on May 14, 1948, the British flag came down. Hours earlier, the Zionist leader David Ben-Gurion had declared the State of Israel, and for one people, the promise had come true. The next morning, 5 Arab armies invaded. 700,000 Palestinians were driven out, the catastrophe they call the Nakba, and never allowed back. 6,000 Israelis died too. Two peoples, one catastrophe each. On October 7, 2023, Hamas attacked from Gaza, killing around 1,200 Israelis and taking 250 hostage. Israel's response leveled much of Gaza. By its health ministry's count, more than 75,000 Palestinians have died. Today, a fragile ceasefire holds, but it is a war paused, not ended. And a century on, a 91-year-old Palestinian, Munib al-Masri, carried his people's cause to the British Parliament. In March 2026, 45 MPs backed his demand that Britain apologise for the promise of 1917. 67 words written by men long dead, and a century later, the land they promised away is still being fought over. But this was not Britain's only secret promise. 18 months earlier, Britain and France had quietly drawn their own lines across the Middle East. They invented half a dozen countries. 3 have collapsed in our lifetime. Follow for part 3.